Hello everyone, this is Sakshi. Welcome and welcome back to the channel. So as you have seen in the thumbnail, we're gonna be revising the digestion and absorption chapter, and since last 2.5 hours I have been reading this chapter from the NCERT fingertips as you have requested, and I have also made the notes out of it too. And for those who are requesting me for the notes, I have uploaded them on my blog page, and you can directly click on the link below in the description box for the notes and you will get them. Please don't forget to hit that subscribe button below and to like this video too, share it with your friends too. And now without any further ado, let's get started. So now let's start with the basic things and basic introduction. As we know that food is the basic requirement. So we need food for preparing and for doing everything that we do or for being alive. And as well as this thing, water is also required for our daily life, and this is also a basic requirement. So mainly we take food and in the three main forms, that is we need carbohydrates, fats and proteins. These three things are used or are needed in our body in the macro amount, as well as the vitamins and minerals are needed in a much lesser amount than the carbohydrate, fats and vitamin than the carbohydrates, fats and proteins. Water also provide the basic metabolic functions and also helps in providing them and doing the basic metabolic functions inside our body, as well as it also prevents the body from dehydration. अब हम देखेंगे कि फूड डायरेक्टली जैसा हम इनटेक करते हैं वैसा का वैसा तो सेल से यूज होगा नहीं. देन व्हाट विल हैपन, ये तो होता ये है दैट दीज बायोमैक्रोमोलिक्यूल्स आर ब्रेकन डाउन इनटू सम smaller substances, means complex substances, or the food that we are intaking or ingesting is broken down into some smaller substances जो कि हमारी सेल्स एब्जॉर्ब करेंगी और उनसे एनर्जी लेके हमारी बॉडी की डेली फंक्शंस और हमारी बॉडी को रिक्वायरमेंट्स प्रोवाइड करेंगी. सो द प्रोसेस ऑफ कन्वर्टिंग दीज macro molecules or the macro biomolecules and converting these complex substances into the simpler ones is known as digestion. बहुत सारे जो हैवी या मैक्रो मॉलिक्यूल्स हैं उनका छोटे मॉलिक्यूल्स या सिंपलर मॉलिक्यूल्स में कन्वर्ट होना ताकि सेल्स उन्हें एब्जॉर्ब करके डेली फंक्शंस प्रोवाइड कर पाएँ बॉडी को इज नोन एज डाइजेशन. सो द सिस्टम्स और द ऑर्गन्स दैट आर परफॉर्मिंग द डाइजेशन एक्टिविटी इज नोन एज डाइजेस्टिव सिस्टम्स, and these digestive system includes the main alimentary canal as well as associated gland. Alimentary canal आप जानते हैं कि from mouth to anus is known as alimentary canal, and the associated organs will be around the alimentary canal. So guess that I think you know the associated organs too, which means the associated organs will be the salivary glands that we have, as well as the liver and the pancreas will be the associated glands, as they will be helping in the process of digestion too by secreting their juices and the enzymes that they contain. So after that we have learned that alimentary canal is from the mouth to the anus, and the associated organs are liver, pancreas as well as the salivary glands. We have three types of salivary glands, that are parotid, mandibular and sublingual. So we will be discussing about them in detail. Now let's move forward. So what we see is that the alimentary canal starts from the mouth, and mouth से ही हमारा process or the digestion starts by the digestion of carbohydrates with the help of salivary amylase that is present in our saliva. So what we will see that the mouth consists of buccal cavity that includes the teeth, the muscular tongue or the muscular flap-like structure, the muscular tongue, as well as the salivary glands. So what we will see is that in human beings there are two types of dentism in the teeth, which means हमारे पास दो दांत होते हैं जिसको हम लोग दूध के दांत या फिर परमानेंट टीथ बोलते हैं सेकंड वाले को. सो दूध के दांत आर नोन एज मिल्क टीथ in the English too, and the second one is known as permanent teeth. So milk teeth are also known as deciduous. After that comes the permanent teeth, and they are 32 in number, and they will be arising to you after the deciduous teeth have fallen. So what we will see is that the dentition is of two types, and that is why it is known as diphodont. The meaning is the diphodont, which means two types of dentition. After that we will see that we have heterodont type of teeth, which means कि हर एक दांत अलग अलग शेप का होता है. That is the incisors, canines, premolars and molars. Incisors, canines, premolars and molars, and this is also concluded, and there is a dental formula. ये दांतों को हमें नोटिफाई करने के लिए एक डेंटल फॉर्मूला है बाय द नंबर ऑफ दीज टीथ. सो द फॉर्मूला इज 2123, which these are the dentition from upper and lower jaw. After that, what we will see is that the type of attachment from the teeth to jawbone is known as thecodont. So the attachment जिससे कि हमारा दांत हमारी जॉ बोन से कनेक्टेड होता है, that joint is known as thecodont. After that, we will see that what is inside our tongue. So our tongue is a muscular flap that is connected with a substance, or that is connected with a flap or the muscular layer that is known as frenulum. So the tongue is attached with the frenulum, as well as what we will see is that it helps in swallowing, it helps in chewing, or it also helps, and it is the main organ of taste too. So this is one of the sense organ, and mainly the tongue provides the taste. And you know the taste buds, right? That the first one is the sweeter, then the salty, then the bitter, and then the sour one. So after that, we will see that these tongues bear little kind of papillae, and these also contains the taste buds. After that, we will see that the movement, or the after mixing of saliva, the food is now known as bolus, that it has mixed with the saliva too. So the movement and the mastication of food and the digestion begins with mouth. After that, by peristaltic movement, it is passed from the mouth to the esophagus. So it from the mouth, the esophagus is connected from a short pharynx. The pharynx is a common opening for the food and air pipe both. So firstly, we can see that the frontal portion is the trachea or the larynx, जहाँ पे आपकी C-shaped cartilages present होंगी. Note this thing. Then what we will see is that the second opening, or the posterior opening, is to the esophagus, or that is also known as gullet. After that, what we will see is that the gullet or the esophagus will open into the stomach. So this all is done by peristaltic movement. Peristaltic movement are the movement or the churning movements that are produced by contraction and relaxation of the muscles that are present inside our alimentary canal. Now what we will see that this goes into the J-shaped organ, that is our stomach, and the opening from the esophagus to the stomach is guided by a muscular sphincter that is known as cardiac sphincter. Now what we will see is that the cardiac sphincter is the opening of the stomach, and the pyloric sphincter is the closing of stomach and opening it into the small intestine. Now the stomach is the widest J-shaped organ in our body, and it is divided into 4 different parts, that is fundus, cardiac, body, and pyloric region. Cardiac is the portion from which the esophagus enters. The fundus is the dome-shaped portion of the stomach, and the body, and lastly the pyloric region. The pyloric region to the intestine is guided by again a muscular sphincter that is known as pyloric sphincter. So what you will see, the lesser side is known as lesser curvature, and the greater side of the stomach is known as greater curvature. The stomach helps in the churning movement. It also helps in the chemical digestion because it contains HCl, or the hydrochloric acid, as well as it is also a food reservoir. After that, what we will now note one point, that in infants the vomiting is more because they have weaker or less developed cardiac sphincter, and because of this the food comes again to their mouth, and this happens with all this and this happen with all the infants. Now what we will see is that after the pyloric sphincter, the food goes to the duodenum portion of the small intestine. The small intestine is again divided into 3 parts, that are duodenum, jejunum, and ileum. So the duodenum is a wider shaped portion, then comes to the longest portion, that is the jejunum, and the ileum. The ileum opens into the cecum of the large intestine. Now let's discuss that the pyloric sphincter starts with the starting of small intestine starts with the pyloric sphincter and ends in the ileocecal vein. So what we will see is that the duodenum is C-shaped organ. Its function is mixing the juices of pancreas and liver together. After that comes the jejunum portion that starts and marked by the jejunum flexure, which is a great flexure after the C-shaped curve, and that is the complicated structure of the small intestine. After that, we will see this opens into the ileum region and that empties into the ileocecal junction by the ileocecal vein. After that, what we will see, the functions of the small intestine is the digestion, or it completes the digestion of protein, carbohydrates, fats and nucleic acid into the small intestine, as well as it also absorbs the nutrition into blood and lymph. After that, we will move to the large intestine, and that is, it opens into the cecum region after the ileocecal junction. It also contains a finger-like projection that is known as vermiform appendix, that is a vestigial organ now, but it is a necessary organ in ruminants because it helps in the digestion of cellulose. And you know what, it also contains, or it is also known as the storehouse of WBCs, that you don't know, I think. So please note that down. Now the infection of this vermiform appendix is known as appendicitis, and the rupture of appendix is known as peritonitis. So this is the thing that you should note. The infection of appendix or the vermiform appendix is known as appendicitis, and the rupture of appendix is known as peritonitis. After that, we will see that the basic function of the large intestine is the water and conservation of water and sodium and minerals and their absorption, as well as formation of fecals and elimination of solid waste from the whole body. So this is what that is our alimentary canal, and we have discussed about these functions too. After that, we will move to the four walls of layer or the histology of the alimentary canal. So what we will see is that alimentary canal consists of 4 different layers, and these are the walls of the alimentary canal are consist of 4 different layers, and these layers will be modified according to the organ in which they are present. So the outer layer is the serosa, and inside it is the muscularis, then the submucosa, and then the mucosa. Serosa is made up of connective tissues and mesothelium. It is for the protective purposes. Then comes the muscularis, that contains the smooth muscles, and they are divided again into 2 types, that these are inner circular and outer longitudinal. In stomach, they also have a 3rd layer, that is the oblique muscles. After that, we will see the submucosal layer consists of loose connective tissues. They have a rich supply of blood, nerves and vessels, and they also contain some kind of glands, especially in the duodenum, and these glands are known as Brunner's gland. So please note that point too, that in the submucosal layer there is a rich supply of blood and nerves and vessels, as well as it also contains some kind of glands, mainly in the duodenum region, and that is known as Brunner's glands, that will secrete the alkaline watery fluid. After that, we will see the last layer or the innermost layer, that is the mucosa, that will secrete the mucus for the protection and lubrication. After that, we will see that this mucosal layer contains some villi, and these villi will contain some kind of microvilli that will increase the surface area as well as increase the absorption too. So mainly what we will see is that villi will be converted on villi have many microvilli present in them, and they give the brush border appearance to the small intestine portion mainly, and this increase the surface area as well as absorption. They also contain some lymph vessels that is known as lacteals. Inside them they have blood capillaries, as well as they also have the mucosa. In the villi, the mucosal epithelium have the goblet cells that secrete mucus for the protection and lubrication. Mucosal epithelium of the stomach have some kind of glands that are gastric glands and crypts. These crypts are known as crypts of Lieberkühn, and they contain the Paneth cells and the Argentifin cells. So the mixture of intestinal juices from the intestinal glands is known as succus entericus, and the pH is 7.8, which is slightly alkaline. After that, we have discussed the functions of the microvilli and the villi too. Now let's move to the digestive glands. These digestive glands will include the salivary glands, and we have discussed about the salivary glands and known as that these salivary, and we know that these salivary glands are divided into 3 different types, that are parotoid or the cheek glands, the submandibular or below the tongue glands, as well as the sublingual that are present in the lower jaw. After that, what we will see is that the saliva contains salivary amylase, ptyalin, as well as some ions of thiocyanide that also forms and perform the antimicrobial function in the saliva. After that, let's come to the digestive or the gastric glands, and these are formed by the epithelium of stomach. So what we will see that the gastric glands are divided again into different kind of several types. These are peptic cells, or that are also known as peptic cells, chief cells, or the zygomatic cells. All these three names are of one cell, that is the peptic or chief cells. These cells will release the proenzyme pepsinogen as well as proenzyme prorenin. So after that, we will see the second type of cells are auxentic or parietal cells, as they are just present beside the membrane, hence they are known as parietal, and hence they are known as parietal. So auxentic or parietal cells, and the third one is the mucus or the goblet cells. So firstly, let's discuss them again. The first one is the peptic cells or chief cells. They will secrete the proenzyme pepsinogen and prorenin. The second one is auxentic or parietal cells that will secrete the HCl and the intrinsic factor for vitamin B12 absorption. The third one is mucus or goblet cells that will secrete the mucus for the protection and lubrication and the protection from the HCl, which is hydrochloric acid. After that comes in the digestive gland, after comes our liver. Liver is the heaviest and the largest gland in our body, and it contains two different kind of lobes. These lobes have so in the liver, the functional unit is hepatic lobules that contains the hepatic cells. These hepatic lobules, or each lobule, is covered by a capsule or a muscular capsule that is known as Glissen's capsule, and the Glissen's capsule is the characteristic of mammalian liver. So note them down too, that each hepatic lobule is covered by a Glissen's capsule, and this Glissen's capsule is the characteristic feature of mammalian liver. After that, what we will see is that hepatic cells will secrete the bile from the hepatic duct, and the hepatic duct will open into the gallbladder where the bile is stored. So the bile is synthesized and released by the liver, and it is stored in the gallbladder. So what we will see is that the duct of gallbladder or the cystic duct combines with the hepatic duct or the duct of liver, and they will form a bile duct, and this bile duct will combine to the pancreatic duct, and they will form a hepatopancreatic duct. This hepatopancreatic duct is formed on an ampulla, and that opening is known as ampulla of Vater. Note it down too, that the hepatopancreatic duct is formed by the bile duct and the pancreatic duct, and they will form and the hepatopancreatic duct will be opening into an ampulla, and that ampulla is known as ampulla of Vater, that is guided by the sphincter of Oddi. After that, what we will see, liver also have some phagocytic cells, and these are known as Kupffer cells. These cells will phagocytose the dead cells or the bacteria. After that comes the next gland, that is our pancreas, and it is also associated organ. What we will see that the pancreas are the heterocrine gland, which means they perform both the functions of endocrine gland as well as exocrine gland. So the exocrine part will be containing the round lobules that are known as acini of the pancreas, and they will secrete alkaline pancreatic juice, which have the pH of 8.4, that is totally alkaline. After that, what we will see, the endocrine part of the pancreas will have the isolate of Langerhans, and that is of three types. Alpha cells will release the glucagon for the breakdown of glycogen. The beta cells will release insulin for the formation of glycogen, and the third type of delta cells will secrete the somatostatin that will inhibit the neurocrine effect. Hey, so this was the complete revision of the chapter, that is digestion and absorption, and the notes will be available to you by clicking on that link that is present in the description box below. So this is all for today. This is Sakshi, and I will catch you in the next video. And whatever the chapter you want, please comment down below, and you can also suggest your things in the comment section, and I will be trying to include these things too.